water on a day like today, but I can't help thinking about those poor folks in the Gulf of Mexico with that oil washing up on their shores. Makes you wonder, why would an oil company take that kind of risks and spend that type of money for deep water drilling? Well, I have an idea why that might be. Naturally, oil companies would want to spend as little amount of money as possible to pull oil out of the ground. That would maximize their profits. So why are they spending so much in the Gulf? For instance, if they could spend $1 pulling each gallon out of the ground, why would they go someplace where it costs $10? Well, that only happens when all the $1 oil is gone and they have no choice but to spend $10 per gallon. This brings us to the laws of supply and demand. Any limited resource in the earth goes through an extraction curve. At the beginning, demand is low, and so there's very little need to pull a lot of it out of the ground. But then as demand grows, the supply grows along with it. Unfortunately, when we're talking about limited resources, that means there's only so much in the earth. And eventually, there's going to be a peak. And after that, no matter how hard you try, the amount you pull out year after year after year is going to be less and less. Unfortunately, if demand stays high and supply drops off, then you have a price gap, and that's when prices really go out of control. I know what you might be thinking. The skeptics proved us all wrong back in 2008 when the price of oil went from $147 a barrel down to about $30 a barrel in a couple of months. Well, recently there's been a lot of items in the news that has peak oil back on my radar screen. Alright, class in session. First up, we have an article from an insider in the International Energy Agency warning of oil shortages by the year 2020. Next, we have a report from the US Defense Department warning of problems by the year 2015. A pair of Kuwaiti scientists published a peer-reviewed article in the Journal of Energy and Fuels warning of problems by 2014. In an interview with a French newspaper, US Department of Energy Representative Glenn Sweetnam even warned of shortages by the year 2011 to 2015. All of this, along with other information, led the UK Industrial Task Force, which includes Sir Richard Branson, to hold a closed-doors meeting about the problem and potential of peak oil in England. And finally, China recently invested $4.65 billion in tar sand development in Alberta, Canada. Tar sands in some respects are even more expensive than deep water drilling. But please don't take my word for it. Do your own research. Look up these news stories and others, and you decide. While this might not be a smoking gun, a jury might decide that's enough evidence to convict. So here's the rub. Almost everybody admits that peak oil will happen someday, but they all say that someday will be in the future. And then when the future comes, it'll be in another future. Well, we have to admit to ourselves that someday that future will be today. And if you're 65 and about to retire and peak oil hits, that's really discouraging. If you're 21, just graduated from university, that's not great either. And if you're 15 going on 16, about to get your first car, that really sucks. But of all the people on the planet and all the different ages, peak oil is going to hit when there are 16-year-olds, when there are 21-year-olds, and there are 65-year-olds. And the sooner that we all get together and understand that one day, that day, will be today, then the sooner we can plan creatively for solutions to the problem. Thanks for your time. I'm glad we had this little chat. I feel a lot better now. As a matter of fact, I feel so good going back in the water.